All right, so the first one I found is actually from a game today. I just noticed there was this bullet game I was watching with my student, and it's a really interesting defense. So this GM map right had like 20 seconds on their clock, and they were defending against this vicious attack on the queen side. Their king was on B1, I think. So, and then went to A1, where they walked into some dangers on the A file. So it's really interesting just how they used their GM instinct, just obviously their skills, their talent, and just having played these kinds of things millions of times, probably hundreds of thousands of times. Okay, so here's the first one from the study on, I'll send you guys the link on defending against attack on the castle position. Okay. So I just flipped.
Who's GM map right?
I don't know who they are. Yeah, GM map, I see. I don't know if they have their name or anything, but
Okay.
yeah, map right. Where is there? Where can I click on them? Oh, because no, I pulled them up. I can't click on them from here. But yeah, so we got. So we just have a King's Indian. So I'll just flip through really how we got here. Same-ish variation with F3. And a lot of times in the same-ish, they like to castle queen side for white, kind of going against the grain, because usually white's going to castle king side and play with D5 and C5. Usually they'll push and they'll play on the queen side. But here, white's trying to mix it up. Of course, many things have been tried against the King's Indian. And white's trying to get the, probing, trying to attack, put some pressure on H6. They just move it. Okay, so now we have this typical King's Indian position with the castle queen side. Okay, so obviously black is going to castle, attack this castle position however they can. So this is typical to play C5, then gain some space, and then B5 becomes stronger. So B5 now, I mean, I guess they could, but a lot of times you go C5 and create like a Benoni structure. You have this kind of pawn chains of Benoni structure, and then, or like a Banco Gambit, this type of thing like we looked at with chess 960 structures. So black will get their attack in, the pawn sack. Now, interestingly, black keeps it closed here. So G4, H4, whereas they're going to try to open up white's queen side where the king is. So yeah, they take the pawn. Okay, white accepts the pawn. I mean, if you don't accept the pawn, they're going to play pawn B4 anyway. So it's kind of like you're damned if you do kind of situation. If you don't take B4, they put pressure on A2. If you do take, they're going to have two half-open files. But at least you get a pawn out of it. It's like a Petrosian game against Kasparov when Kasparov's young. I think that one's called Tiger, Tiger Burning Bright. You ever seen that one? I think that's the one where he just takes pawns in front of his king on the queen side, and he starts pushing the pawns fearlessly. So I can pull that one up. I don't have it here. Okay, so he just hangs on to the knight on B5. Sometimes you'll even play pawn A4, pawn B3, pawn A4. Say, all right, what are you going to do about it? What are you doing here? Knight takes C7. Now, a lot of times black will opt for C4. Can't do it now, obviously, but trying to get the knight on C5. Not so easy right now. Trading off pieces, as we'll often see. You're under attack, you trade pieces. And white just wants that kind of winning endgame, got that endgame insurance in the A pawn. Just trying to trade them all down and hopefully win the endgame. It's not easy. This Banco Gambit type structure, a lot of pressure on the A and B files. Okay, but you can see that black has a ton of pressure. Now they would love to open up their bishop. That's the main problem. They never got to open their bishop. So obviously you would not play F4. Never play F4 in this kind of position. You just let them open up their bishop and the knight could come in. So you don't, as long as you don't do that, the bishop's inactive. So that's a big part of why white's able to at least hang on here. Okay, well, still it's dangerous. You got four pieces swarming. What's the threat right now? Actually, the very direct threat that black has after knight C4. What's that?
Queen B2.
Let's see, how many attackers versus how many defenders on B2?
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 2. King makes 3.
Right, so not enough yet, are there?
No.
Because, every time, right, white would have the last say every time they take, unless black gets a more valuable piece like the queen, like if their rook were in front, maybe. So what else is there then? But there's certainly a lot of pressure on this A and B file. Something's going to happen. The knight just hopped in. That created a new threat.
Yeah, the knight could go over to A3.
There you go. Knight A3, picking up the queen, game over. Well, that's too easy because then you get the queen with check and you go back. Yeah, that's done. So king A1. Rook A6, double. Double that. So bishop tries to wiggle its way in, maybe get to A5. Now it's just direct defense, just piling up the pieces over there. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. So knight goes to A5. Okay, now another direct defensive move by white. Hold on, let me just take care of it real quick. What's another direct defense thing white can do? Well, first of all, again, there's a big threat. So what do you do about it? One second.
You get rid of the threat by bringing the rook over to B3. That'll be one. Let's see. No, not B3.
Maybe bring the rook to,
The pawn to A3. Bring the pawn up to A3. Or either bring the rook.
I think I heard something, Lynn. I think I heard something right at the beginning.
I think
First comment, what was
I don't usually play it. I can see why it's a good move because during a normal tournament game, I'm really afraid of exchange sacrifice. But I think rook B3 might work now.
Yeah.
What's the reply to rook B3? Knight takes.
Knight takes.
Knight takes.
Opening up the rook on A6.
Knight takes with a check.
And with check. That looks dangerous. What's white's response to that?
Pawn takes. Knight.
Look carefully.
No. Sorry.
That's
no.
done. That's done, right?
Yeah.
Can't allow that, right? You got to give up your queen, right? So
Yeah.
not with B3. Lynn, I thought I heard it earlier. Yeah. Okay.
rook A3 maybe?
What was that?
It would be rook A3 and then.
Right.
bishop-
There you go. I think I heard you
Okay.
say that, Lynn, earlier, right? Well, this was pawn A3. All right. So it's rook A3. Queen B6. They don't really have anything amazingly. Okay, one more defensive concept. But yeah, you just have to deal with that. I mean, you got the B file covered with you got your king off it, you got the bishop guarding B2. Then you got pressure on the A file, so you deal with that. Clog it up. It's very, and these got 35 seconds on the clock, now 26 seconds, 1 minute game, no increment, I think. So pretty amazing. Queen B6. They did lose on time in the end, but still they defended amazingly. Okay, now one more defensive idea. One sec.
How about bishop to D2? D2 maybe? No. How about rook to D3?
Maybe even B3 might be good. Wait, well, 1, 2, 3 attackers. 1, 2. That
No,
one.
you don't want B3 because you got, well, the knight is sitting right there.
Yeah. So the knight's a sin there, but it's okay. You capture. He captures rook, captures back with the knight. I'm not sure if it's a.
I think this is where you actually bring the queen in. I mean, she's sitting right there, and let me just look at this further.
Hey, Nikki.
How are you?
How you doing? Welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm making sure she's good with it. She's watching something. But yeah, so what move are you guys looking at, Todd? I think I heard some at the beginning that sounded good. What were you saying?
The bishop to E2.
D2.
I mean D2.
Okay, now that you have this pressure on the A file, you're neutralized it anyway. So you want to trade rooks. I do. Just keep trading. I mean, it's not always easy to win those end games if they have pressure on the A and B files. But hey, let's say you trade off everything, you should be winning the end game, especially with this horrendous bishop on F8. So you just go bishop D2 and take the knight. Is that what you guys were looking at?
That's what I was looking at.
What do you guys think? What else were you guys considering?
What about rook to D3? The rook on D1 to D3 and to bring it over maybe?
Right, you could keep coming over with your pieces, but I mean, you can cluster, but at the end of the day, you've done what you need to do to stop your mate, stop the mate. So at this point, just get rid of that knight, right? So it's kind of a combo of direct defense. Now, most of them, as I mentioned in the email, a lot of times it's not direct defense. It's a counter, like on the number one, number two, you see vicious counterattack. Maybe you evacuate your king. I'll show you what shortening the file is, or some counter sacrifices and stuff like that. But in this case, it's really, you just began with direct defense, bringing your pieces over, defending those weak points, focal points, A2, B2 focal points. They're trying to checkmate you or do tricks like the knight fork. Just trade it off now. And Nikki, just to show you real quick. So earlier on what happened is, so this was a bullet game. So white has under a minute here. And then the pieces just swarm over, trying to get a fork on A3 and stuff. And white just goes knight B1, very passive, but hey, just starts trading pieces, cover the A file, cover the B file, and they just trade. Now we only have 3 and 3.
Yeah, and that's that.
Well, they're threatening mate. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we just go A3, because then you're sure it's going to be guarded. And again, that bishop, if that bishop were present on the diagonal, then there would be way more complications. You always have to worry about getting taken, and the knight has to babysit the A pawn and stuff. But because that's not available, really, they've only got 2 attackers, the 2 heavy pieces. There's just not enough anymore. So white's off the hook.
Are GMs at time disadvantage here? Time handicap?
Yeah. I just want to show you the main concept. I mean,
Okay.
it's still amazing they did lose on time, but it's still amazing that they played all these moves with.
Yeah, they didn't panic.
Yeah, they did not panic. That's what they're GM, right?
Mhm.
They kept their cool. I don't know which GM, but map right, Brian, look them up, try to figure it out, man. Unless they're totally anonymous. Yeah, but okay, they have to guard the G pawn, but they might want to go rook G4 and take the H pawn. Point is that the attack is killed. Okay, discovery on the rook, give it up. Now the C pawn's probably going to fall. G pawn for C pawn, but yeah, white's doing great. Actually, the bishop sort of came out, but even look at it, even on G5, it's really not doing that much, right? The knight's definitely dominating the bishop in this scenario, winning the minor piece battle, and we don't just have the passed A pawn, we have an A and B pawn duo, 2 connected passed pawns. So white should basically be winning, our huge advantage, right? Just watch out for that H pawn. Maybe you can pick it off too. So anyway, yeah, that's computer says what? Computer says, oh, it gives black queen D4 and says black. So no, changing its mind. Giving white a pawn advantage, which they have. But yeah, white's better, basically white's better after all that. So, but then of course they lost on time. But when they lost on time, they had a massive advantage. So everything's, like I said, B3, A4 ideas. And even if there's a pawn on C5, you often lock it in. Although now they threw the C pawn at you, which is typical in the middle game. But here it was just too little, too late. Although too late for white with time, but in terms of positioning, not black can't do anything. You'll eventually start pushing the pawns. So a pretty nice example. Do you guys have any direct defense on the king, on the weak points? And then trading pieces. Pretty straightforward though on that. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts about that one?
I think it's funny. We always call that the grandmaster move when they bring the knight backwards like that.
Yeah.
That's a grandmaster move.
Is it forced? Let's see.
You probably
Maybe not like immediately, but eventually, because the knight was actually getting in the way. So I mean, just a series of good moves. But the thing is, let's say you're playing a bullet game. I think, well, they're up like about twice as much time, almost twice as much time. But your opponent's going to start thinking, because they're saying, hey, you're holding off my attack. I got to make this work. As they're thinking, you're anticipating everything. So you have 2 seconds there. Okay, you have some time now. So you went from 135 to 119. So white's ready. I know they still spend some time on this, but at some point, black's going to spend some time. And then white's ready in 2 seconds to play this idea. Like, all right, no matter what, I'm going bishop. Oh, I'm going to go bishop D2 and attack the queen, right? But no matter what, I'm going bishop D2. Yeah, this is rook A3 that's it, really. Once you go rook A3, you're pinning the knight. You killed this very strong threat. So this is a nice idea. Very strong move because it deals with the threats on the A file. No more knight B3 nastiness. The knight moves you, yeah, it's pinned. And bishop B2 is coming for essentially a skewer. A skewer not to win a piece, but a skewer to trade a piece, which is kind of like which is a victory. Anytime you're ahead material, every trade is its own threat. So that's why trading for endgame safety is another important concept. And we can go over again those concepts that Soltis mentions. Yeah, but then you have this, then you're good. Okay, so any questions about that one?
No, interesting.
Yeah, now this is the vicious counterattack. This is quite a cool game. So it ended up being a draw. Again, that one was a loss. It's more the concepts that matter. This was against a vicious attack by Alakan. Todd, did you say something? Or Richard?
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's good. You sure? All right. So I'll just home in on that. Easier to see. All right. So this doesn't say. I don't have the year in front of me. May have been one of their world. I think it was their world championship. Right? Okay. So notes by Alakan on the right. Yeah, I may as well just see what I have it there. It's from the chessgames.com link. They have notes.
Oh,
Just some, just some random notes about the opening and stuff. So we do have a dragon here. Well, it is one of the methods of defending in a dragon, but I want to kind of pull up some examples, at least conceptually, of how you often defend when you have this onslaught on the H file. Well, speaking of Soltis and his art of defense in chess, there's actually a Soltis variation where you block the H on advance with your own H pawn. But then there's also stuff where, they're trying to trade off your bishop and whatnot. Can mention that too.
Well, David, what defines the dragon in this instance?
The bishop, it's a Sicilian, and black goes bishop G7. Fianchetto.
Fianchetto.
Yeah. The king.
Okay.
Like we talked about the King's Indian versus the Queen's Indian. Funny enough, actually, when you play in Najdorf, A6 in the Sicilian, that's when you're going to fianchetto your queen bishop usually.
Mhm.
So it is there is a queen bishop version, and usually the king bishop will go to E7 in a Najdorf. But in a dragon, you might do it, or you might just do something standard like bishop to D7 or even E6. But the main thing that defines it is the bishop goes to G7 and it's Sicilian. This is an open Sicilian because of the trade on D4. So white's playing classically. This is kind of the boring classical variation where Simon Williams said you should crush your opponent if they do this. They should play more enterprising stuff, basically, is what he's saying. So he has the accelerated Dragendorf against this is his thing. But yeah, black's just playing comfortably now. Bishop gets to come to E6. Knight's not there anymore. So this is a known line where white's going right away. Your bishop knows it's going to get hit by F4, F5, but you actually invite it because you know how sharp the position is and that black has resources. So the second you saw this, you need to strike back. So Lige, well, that's his comment, and then there's my comment. But basically, I'm saying you can't ignore this. And the D5 strike, you guys may have seen this in the Sicilian. So this is an example of not direct defense, but as they say, the best response to an attack on the flank is a counterattack in the center. So you see, I mean, this is dangerous. They're trying to steamroll you. So you got to go D5. Have you guys seen this before? This concept in Sicilian?
Yeah, I have, but oftentimes in the beginning, I play Tomanov, I sometimes have a hard time figuring out between D6 and D5. I know that D5 is a good pawn break, but that's kind of hard to decide when I play D6 or D5.
Well,
So
if you're
especially
playing an accelerated dragon where you have your D pawn, well, ideally you always want D5. That's your free move.
Yeah, correct.
So as we're talking about where you play in English, which is playing a Sicilian with white, the extra tempo.
Yeah.
But in English, you often get D4 in one move. So like essentially playing this. But now
for some reason there's some variation with the Tomanov where if the knight is on C3 and knight is on D4, only D5 works. I mean D6 works, not D5. But yeah, I have problems figuring out D6 or D5, especially if.
Oh, you said B5 or D5?
D5.
Right. Well, you want to get
D5.
if you can get it in, you want to get it in. Basically, it's your free.
Yeah, correct.
But you got to watch out because a lot of times there is the bypass.
They push up and then.
Yeah, and it becomes like
use the tempo.
French-ish kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But usually again concepts that you'll see a lot. You usually follow that with knight to E4 because the knight will be able to be supported by the D pawn now. So it's very dynamic, but the point is you have to be dynamic here. Sometimes you'll have an E5 strike. Obviously not now unless you take B3. There's also weird stuff where you go to knight A5 in some of these positions supporting bishop C4. You start again trading pieces when you're under attack. But here is just a counter thrust. You'd have to double check it. What he does, actually, I've seen Kasparov do this sometimes. What he does is he, okay, when he kicks it, I'm not talking about that move, on this move. So you'll let him take, and then you'll go knight b4. So knight helps him. He would do this in the knight or flop. Well, first of all, you're smashing the center, d5. Yeah, you let him go f5. You got to watch out. So for example, now there's g4 to g5, but you're ready with the knight. So it doesn't just steam. You're not just getting steamrolled because you'll hit him in the center. And then you're threatening this pawn. So you see you're beginning to undermine the f pawn now, making it harder for him to carry out his advances, right? Pawns are split now. Okay, hits him with d6, very sharp stuff. So okay, we want to trade queens, fine. So bishop comes in here. He gives a line here. He says queen takes d1, rook takes d1. And then he's saying knight c6. He's saying knight c6, g5, followed by f6 because the pin. Well, this knight gets driven back too. You go to h5, you get taken, mess up your pawn structure. Yeah, it's not fun. If you go here, yeah, then he has this move. And white's getting something. At least an exchange. Well, if you, yeah, it's like sack an exchange, it looks like. It's not terrible, but yeah, white is up in exchange. So
What does it say about the knight takes c2 thing? Because I
oh, knight, let's see. Oh yeah, there is that possibility. Where are we?
Yeah, it's like right. It's in the parentheses, like
Right,
after
he's saying
queen
move
takes, rook
after
takes.
move 15, so that would be here. Well, it's not like it's a fork anymore, so I guess the knight gets loose. Let's see. Although it does gain a tempo, but
I guess where's it go
That's
back?
all it gets right there.
Yeah.
just saying king
It just
d2.
get a check, yeah.
Exactly. It's just a check, and then he goes king d2. Yeah, he blocks the rook, but now the knight's got to move. Although it doesn't have any moves. Yeah, that's the problem. It gets trapped. That's,
Oops.
yeah, that's why. No, good,
It was
good.
fun while it lasted.
Good to question. Good to question. I'll find out why. Okay. So now he takes, that's the reason why. So it's pretty deep though. He has it's all embedded in that. Okay, so bishop c5, that's why he goes here. Okay, so now this is effectively a sacrifice of the knight when you commit to take it. You're not going to take d1 or the other line we talked about with g5 f6, which is a sack of an exchange. So when you go here, he can play rook f1, chase your queen away from your knight. But he sees perpetual check ideas. But again, like it's kind of, you have to. It's like do or die, right? You have to go for this. Because otherwise you're just, and once d5 happens, it just takes on a life of its own. But once really g4 happens, you kind of have to just roll with it. But this is a known line, I think. Let's see, it's probably been played quite a bit. Yeah, we have 7 in this data, 7 with castles. Did he do that as he did? And then g4 has been played. No, now it transposes 149 times here. I'm sure more overall. And then d5. Well, d5, interestingly, people went a5 here. But I think if you, I imagine, yeah, d5 must be the thing to do. Oh, remember I talked about knight a5. That's the move I was mentioning. So when he goes f5, you go bishop c4. That was the line I mentioned. And black is doing quite well, actually. If he takes, you just start trading pieces. Black should be okay. Although, again, score change. It's weird. The score starts changing as you go down. Depends on what white does in those lines. But yeah, this is still fine. White, you're trading pieces. Black is still in the game. Okay. Or did someone say something? No. But anyway, just to give you an idea. But the point is, you do have other options, but this is a nice counter punch in the center. And you see who has played this. I would go to chess.com and filter for highest rated by black, but you get a sense 2500s pretty much, 2600, 2500s. Actually, that does not look good. They have a bunch of wins for white, few for black. But there might be rating mismatches like 2500s versus 2300s. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, it's the most aggressive. That's the concept, apart from this exact line. And here it does pretty well in this case. Some wins for black. This hasn't been played before. Still scoring better actually after knight f3. But yeah, it's super messy. Okay, so it takes. But now we just have this drawing idea of perpetual check. Now, as I was saying, you went into this, you went headlong, and you kind of just got to go with it. But now, okay, he sacks the knight to get to the h pawn, right? King is very exposed on e1, though. We don't quite have time to castle queenside. You got to hit him first. Then he goes knight takes g4. Now he's giving up a second piece. but he's not getting, I mean, sometimes you would be able to get a mating attack, but you could kind of sense after the bishop takes that you're not getting a mating attack. Black doesn't have some smothered mate or something. There's only a queen available to do much. So what do you think is the concept then?
At this point, could he go queen to e5 check, with the idea of, depending, if he moves to the upper to d7, he loses his queen, and
I think you
Yeah,
could
he has to-
do.
Oh, I see.
I think you could do G3. Just try for perpetual down a
Well,
lot of
the thing is, if you
material.
go here, right? This is a weaker diagonal
okay,
because he has like block, maybe queen e2 or something. He
yeah,
has block.
so
Right, and then suddenly white has this cluster of pieces that can help, right? Although interestingly, in the move you mentioned, he doesn't have any resources out. Although you have given up 2 pieces, and it'll be 3. It'll be a rook and 2 pieces for a queen, and the king will castle by hand, as we're going to cover in other scenarios. That's interesting. But yeah, you just go for perpetual, Richard. Right? Check, check, check. And I think there was just no good way to get out of this.
I guess
just
why they had a draw.
What?
No, I guess that's why it ended in a draw.
Yeah, well, there it is. If you go to d2, you have the rook check. If you go to e2, you take the bishop with check. After rook f2, same idea.
Hmm.
It's interesting, and there's all these pieces, but they can't help.
And then he got his rook over there at a8. He has never moved, and the bishop is down there, and they're just, useless.
Yeah, he got chased
Yeah,
back. It wasn't ideal. Yeah, it certainly wasn't ideal. So, but he is playing against the great Alekhine. I think Alekhine beat. Well, Botvinnik came back 3. Remember we talked about him how he came back. He won 3 different times. Like he lost it twice. But Alekhine won the title. He died with the title. So I don't recall which one it was, but you guys might check. Maybe this was when he won it back. All right, let's see. Or when Alekhine won, right? No, he beat Capablanca. So maybe I forget. Maybe he lost to Botvinnik, then won it and then beat him again. You have to double check. But yeah, this very active play, willing to sack pieces in order to exploit the exposed white king. Very fearless play. I mean, totally insane looking. But okay, you could play it. I've actually played something like this. I've done e5 ideas. Once I see all this, if my bishop were on c8 still or something, I've done that a5. So I played this stuff a lot. But this is a good example of defense in the dragon. Classic counter strike in the center versus the flank attack, arguably a premature flank attack. They'll do this more against a Najdorf actually, because it has a bit less early sting. The dragon does have a lot of sting to it. If you castle queenside, you're going to come under a lot of fire. Worry about, exchange sacks and stuff, opening up the bishop, queen coming in. A lot of pressure with that bishop. And even just taking on c3 and getting some ideas. Usually want to do exchange sacks. Keep that nice bishop. Yeah, well, I'll mention it now in terms of direct defense. So yeah, your bishop is a great defender here. So for example, in some dragons, they're going to open up the H file. The bishop covers H8. So if you move your rook, that's another method of defense there. Imagine just hypothetically, if you're to move your rook, even if they come into H7 and check you, like chase away your knight, you have king F8. Or in other cases, you have rook F7. If you trade this way, rook can guard. So you either have a king running here. Oops. You either have king running, get rid of that move, or you have king F7 or rook F7. So you might have some ideas of, that's kind of older style, where you let them take, then the rook will come up. Because nowadays, like I said, if they go early for the early H4 thrusts in the Yugoslav attack lines, you'll have H5. So there's some direct defense concepts, but this is sort of indirect. Well, you punch them in the center though, and as you see, you get tons of counterplay. The point is, it's going to take white a little time to brew up a real attack. I mean, yeah, they get their bayonet, but keep in mind, white's also pressuring the center too. So it could be across the board where white has pressure. Maybe sometimes you push the A pawn, all sorts of things. Obviously, they get their king saved. But the thing is, there's no mate coming right now. As Simon Williams said, this is kind of feckless in a way. It's like, okay, how are you going to mate right now with these pieces? You don't have your H file open as in Yugoslav. So it's like, if you're going to go for it, just do the Yugoslav attack, right? This has still got some sting. I mean, obviously, Alekhine liked it. But the point is you have so much counterplay, you don't give them time to get a free hand. They want to get that tempo, but now your knight's going to take. So you probably just do this right now. And this looks great, actually. Now you've torn open this line. Okay, bishop here. We'd probably just do bishop takes. Takes, queen check. Probably just go back. Okay, you really want to get you? No, maybe even sack your pawn. You know, you have stuff like this. There's nothing here, though. They're not mating anytime soon. Even if they had h5, and hypothetically, they take, you'd have bishop takes, covering h7. You know, so just keep in mind, you have to have confidence in your resources in these kinds of positions, right? Black's not even down any material. Now the knight's coming in and all this good stuff, right? So you can see you have to have faith in those positions where it looks scary, but you have a lot of counterplay. And that's why you're able to play a move like d5. Let's check what the computer says if it likes d5. It likes rook c8, which is scoring about even. Probably doesn't like d5 for some reason. Doesn't like this line. Probably finds a good defense somewhere. But how about knight a5? It says it's about even. There's the g5 line. Yeah, it's a little bit passive. A little bit of a passive defense. But if knight takes, this is fine. Oh, it likes this line. Weird. See, now that's gutsy because you're giving up that bishop.
Mhm.
So what I was getting at too is you want to keep that bishop to defend, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get rid of him.
Yeah, sometimes like I've seen Fischer do that. He'll give up the bishop to mess up the queen side and get a quick counterattack. Well, at least you know that the problem for white is they're not going to find safety on anywhere. Kingside's open. He's in the center, which could be attacked as we saw with d5, and he's going to be open on the queen side. But that's risky. Normally, another thing I was going to mention was that you might even sack your exchange for this bishop for that safety of having this great attacker and defender in g7. So that dragon bishop is very important. Okay, so just to give you some sense of that. Okay, so now we have the evacuation idea. And again, in this case, that one, second one was a draw. In this case, it didn't work out for him in the end, but he's still not getting mated by Capablanca. That's the point. I want to show you the point where you don't get mated and you're still in the game. Sometimes you do have a direct counterattack that leads to a win. Sometimes you just hang on. Other times, as I mentioned in the email, your opponent has to invest so much in the attack that if it doesn't work, you're just winning materially. Actually, I could pull up a cool Fischer game like that. Okay. All right, so let's flip this again. We have a Nimzo. Interestingly, this looks a lot like Fischer-Spassky round 5, their 72 match. So he's locking it down. Fischer did the same concept of d6, e6. Queen didn't go to c2 in that line. It was almost the same thing. And then after e4, you go e5. And then he went c5. So you see you're locking up the position, which favors the knights over the bishops generally.
I can't handle all the cuteness with the guys with the babies. Sorry, just had to say that.
No, it's all good. Page 4. Nurturing dads, right?
Yes.
They were talking about that on the radio actually yesterday. So f6, knight g3, king f7. So there's his evacuation. So he's just going for this pawn storm. Now it's similar to the other. Actually, this is even less of an initiative. I mean, he's building his attack. You obviously see it coming, right? So he's like, all right, let's get out of here. I'm not going to just sit there. And when he goes g5, Capablanca goes g5, he says, all right, let's just ignore that. Let's not take it in open lines. Well, if you took it, it'd be terrible because then the rook opens against h7. That's just a long-term attack against h7, which is hard to defend against. But keep in mind, it's a closed game. So it's very slow. The bishop's not coming in. This bishop on d3 is not doing anything. Queen, well, she can swing. The bishop on c1, not much. I'm worried about the knight, the queen, and the rook mostly. But you're going to get out of there pretty quickly. So you go knight g8, cover f6, and you can evacuate now. And basically, it's getting squeezed. That's the thing, though. It's still not ideal for him. Positionally, it's not looking great. But you can imagine playing on here. He castles by hand. Because keep in mind that this structure is not so good for white. So you can always, if you guys, well, first of all, you can just take it boldly like in the other game. Just take the pawn in front of your king. Or you can even lock it up at some point. But that's still a target. But yeah, so because the double pawns, very rigid. So the black king is fine. Positionally, though, it's not perfect. But he's not. The point is he's not getting mated. He's still in the game after the evacuation. So just keep that in mind. You can evacuate. And it is a closed position. Keep that in mind. If it were open like the previous game, your king walking around the center, it's getting hit hard, right? It ended up being a draw in the last game, but white can get mated in those positions if they're not careful. So does that make sense? He just moves the knights out of the way, creates that escape route, kind of carves his way over. Any questions about that one?
Yeah, that's just a crazy idea. I just never would even consider walking on over to the other side of the board.
I mean,
Right. I like the way he castled like that. That was cool.
Yeah.
castling by hand, not only castling by hand, but across the board. So it's very
Across the board, right.
Yeah, it's very common. Let's say white ended up with the king here. They move the rook somewhere like F1 or E1, then they go back. That's fine. Just slowly castling, manual castling or castling by hand as opposed to automatic, right? But here is like, okay, he's forecasting here what he's gonna do. Yeah, I don't like getting squeezed, but I guess, yeah, a lot of people do that against Capablanca where they're like, all right, I'll let you squeeze me. I'm hoping to hold on. Obviously, Capablanca finds wins as he did here. How did he end up winning? Let's see what the winning idea was in the end. Well, he ended up, he ended up pushing the A-pawn. He ended up winning over here. So his opponent kind of messed up. Maybe he should have blockaded with the bishop or something. But yeah, I don't know why he did this. And then maybe he realized that he couldn't take or something on A4, but yeah, it was too little too late. Now the attack is really taking off. Yeah, this is a version that didn't work. Like in the other game where the guy defended but lost on time. Here he's not defending. Was he getting squeezed? He's just so squeezed. I mean, he's holding on pretty. I got to give it to him. He's doing okay. But the problem is that Capablanca's swinging. He has the space advantage. And then, yeah, then he finally breaks through.
And Capablanca really has his pieces kind of spread out, from the D on back, aiming.
Yes, good observation, Lynn. Yeah.
Good placement, good piece placement.
And that's by virtue of the pawn structure.
Mm-hmm.
He's so squeezed, he's trying to blockade everything, but something's got to give. And that knight, he got rid of that annoying knight. Actually, the knight wasn't doing anything, actually. It's too far advanced, it didn't attack anything. Right. So he ended up just coming in. And then he just ended up having a pawn deep in his territory. And it's a locked up position, a great example of a locked up position and still having really strong bishops. So there's that game with the evacuation. Again, don't worry about the final result. Silman does that a lot too. People are confused, like, wait, why'd you show me that if the person didn't end up winning? Or he'll be like, oh, and they won 30 moves later or something. But the point is that, it's about the concept. You could just show a diagram, but I do like to show how he got there. Anyway, let's see. So shortening the file. Okay, well, here is a diagram. Oh, that was a random. No, the bishop ended up randomly on b5. Okay, that didn't. I think, yeah, I don't know how that got there. Okay, but the concept is g6. So why do you think you could just sit there? I mean, you're holding off, the knight guards g7. You could use a rook to defend g7. Why do you go g6?
What went G6? There was the pawn went G6.
Oh, I didn't realize that you got a baby. Oh, I see. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about there. Nikki, I didn't realize that Richard's got a baby too. Very nice. Congratulations. How old is your baby? You're pretty young. Right?
I think 3 months and
Oh,
1
only
week.
3 months. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So they're already boy. So he's already learning chess, huh?
Bart taking care of him.
Yeah, I'm not forcing it on my
He wants
kids,
to be
but,
carried. If he's not carried, he's gonna cry. So
yeah, maybe we'll put him to sleep. The rhythm of the chess pieces, right? So G6, why G6? I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, I guess, but so Soltis calls it shortening the file, shortening the G file. So what do you think he means here? Why is that good?
oh, you mean the well, that limits the extent to which the rook on G4 could really move. Limits the scope.
Exactly, limits the scope, and may as well let a pawn guard a pawn.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. In the doubled pawns, they're sometimes okay in that they fortify. You know, the F and C pawns are fortifying the center, but the center just never really took off. And the bishop, you know, there's some concepts here, but Lasker just kills that. And he ends up being able to play F5 and opening up some stuff. So, and you can always reroute the knight and silver, but really there's no more attack left. That's a good move, it just kills the attack. I mentioned I was going to show you guys another game. Was it the Petrosian? I mentioned the Petrosian game. Do you guys remember I mentioned something else too?
I'll check it for you. Let's see what you said.
I should show you the Petrosian game because that came up. Definitely some cool Tibiakov games in the Dragon with some amazing defensive in the Dragon. So I would look those up. One sec, I'll pause this. Gonna pull up I think it's the Tiger burning. Oh, funny enough, I have it open right now. I had it on different, but I wanted to maybe show you guys. I have it on chessgames.com. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's the
I see.
final. I don't know, it's almost the final position. Okay, so he's playing with black. Okay, so we got this is 1981. So Kasparov's pretty young because he was already young when he won the world title in 85. Wasn't he like 19 or something? So he was in his teens. The young, aggressive Kasparov and Petrosian schooled him a little bit there. Maybe, well, I mean, Kasparov did fine. He played pretty well, but still, just showing that you can't, you know, just go all out against a really strong player.
Who's playing black, Kasparov?
Yeah, no, Kasparov is white. But just to show this amazing defense.
Okay.
Funny enough, I actually didn't realize this, but I played Queen's Gambit Accepted. I played the exact same moves as Petrosian up to my opponent knew this line with G4 and Bishop F1. So they cover the bishop is kind of overstayed his welcome on C4. They want to guard H3 because they took G6 and opened up the H file. So the bishop goes back to F1, reroutes to G2. And then I did the same thing. I went here and I think I went for E5, maybe I may have diverged. I think I played E5, or no, not yet. I think it was almost like this. I might have gone Bishop E6 or something, but I think up to this point, it was the same thing up to, I did C6 and Queen C7, just logical, stop the D5 push. So it's funny, like 13 moves in, it was the same game. And then Kasparov diverges with F4. So it's a really bold, again, it's just showing you that you can allow your opponent to do dangerous looking things to you. If you're a great, but you have to have confidence in your defensive skills. You know, you can let them throw all their pawns that you would maybe overextend themselves. You can, or, oh, you know what, I wanted to find a common H3 G4 idea. You play H3 G4 and they like sack on G4, but that doesn't always work for the two pawns. But you know, it is risky obviously to go for H3 G, like to do that in general. But yeah, so in this case, Petrosian, kind of like the first game where the GM took the B pawn, kind of had to. But here Petrosian voluntarily picks off this pawn. Again, a B pawn. Okay, kicks the queen back. Probably white doesn't want to take on Poisson to open up lines against his own king. So at least white's own king side is closed. He has play against the black king. He takes the pawns like, oh, well, now you have even more play. But Petrosian is just confident enough in his defense that he's going to use that pawn as his winning asset. So just keep that in mind. You know, like we've talked about, be objective. You may be the one who's taking a pawn and withstanding a vicious attack. Now this is called confusing the opponent's pieces. But hey, I mean, if that leads to a win for you, then go ahead and take that pawn if you think that's your winning chance there. Okay, so now here you go again. It's very similar to the first game. We have grabbing a pawn, open lines. In the other game was the A and B files, A and B half open. Now it's B and C half open files against the black king. All that's a little less dangerous against the C pawn. But yeah, it's just clustering his pieces. But it's not just for defensive purposes. He doesn't actually give him this bishop, which is interesting. There you go, B5. What a bold move, right? Who's going to play B5 here and open everything up? But he's, you know, it's very funny, right? There you go, connected past A and B pawn. Maybe that guy had in the first game. Maybe he had this game in mind. That was what's his name? The first one was Map Right. Maybe Map Right had that Petrosian game in their kind of drawing from their chess patterns, that lexicon of chess ideas. So it takes. Okay, now they got some ideas on the B pawn, A6 pawn. Just walk, but look, he confidently walks into the line of fire, but he knows that he just has enough resources. The G2 bishop is blocked, and he finds some key ideas. He retreats a bit. Okay, covers the A file. He doesn't see any collapse of the B pawn yet. Look at that move,
Wow.
especially after King C6. So this is crazy. The bishop on C7 stops knight A5 check. He'll take D6. Even after he takes on C7, your king could then escape. If the knight check, your king escapes to D6 and then E7, and we have our evacuation route again. So the concept of Williams trying to kick this out. Simply go here, and
Oh
then
my
you're
God.
winning, strategically winning with these pawns.
I guess you have to just be like so precise, like with your defense.
Yeah, you have to be confident. The confidence does come from that.
Yeah.
You gotta have the efficacy. So Kasparov hangs the knight, which is insufficient, but still, I mean, now he gets to take A6. It still looks dangerous. So we call that cold-blooded moves.
Mm-hmm.
Marching your king forward. I mean, look at these. They're all cold-blooded. It was like from here. Confident play
And the
B5.
king is just hopping all around everywhere.
Yeah, he's opening them up. He's effectively opening up. Now we have fully open C file, which is actually fine because we can challenge him there. We get counterplay. But now we just opened up his the A file. So he has a half of an A file against A6, which he does obviously utilize, just not enough. It's just not enough. And now you have. It's nice actually. He could have stuck his knight on B6. But he stuck his bishop on B6. Because now there's no bishop C5. Let's say you go knight 7 B6. It's kind of annoying. So he's trying to liquidate here. He's not liquidating, he's forcing the issue though. He doesn't even need to, honestly, because his king is safe enough. So we have 5 pieces against 4 pieces. We have a passed C pawn. Those pawns are not all gone. They turned into a passed C pawn, which is a winning asset. Right, well, here you go. He can play. The point is, it makes him harder to play bishop C5, which he does. And then he takes. What do you think he does now? What happens when he takes C5?
Queen comes down to C. What's that, 4?
Well, what's going to be? Oh, you mean like right after knight takes C5?
Well, no, sorry.
Well, let's say the knight takes C5.
Knight takes
And then the D
C5.
pawn takes C5. What does black do after the D pawn takes C5?
C
Now he's
pawn
hitting the
takes-
bishop on B6.
What does what do?
So calculate the line. If you go ahead and take C5,
Yeah.
and the pawn takes, and the
Okay.
king comes up and takes back. Is that safe enough? The king's out there. He has queen A3 check. Another cold-blooded move. But does it work?
Let's see, he takes. He takes.
Look at
I
this.
don't know, because you got the queen and the rook right there. I don't know.
Right. Superficially,
work.
it looks aggressive, but look at the concrete check. So you should.
Yeah,
be
I think you
concerned,
just
right?
capture, right? I mean, it looks like it's. Oh,
That B6 bishop is good, kind of like the dragon bishop. It generally holds off rook A7 moves. So if you come back to B7, if you need to, there's no more checks. There are no more checks. The knight on D5 holds off the bishop on G2. You might even run the other way though. Well, you have to watch out. No, your queen's even guarding B6. The knight will be, undermined by the bishop, but even the queen guards B6. So you can probably evacuate. So you just take it. And you're supporting your C pawn. What if you just like keep walking your king up and promote? Well, once you trade off a rook, get rid of the rook, maybe, then you probably can. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to be that, ambitious right now. You could just move your king back and win. So what does he do? He goes here. He resigns now, actually. Kasparov played this move and resigned. Probably just pushes the pawn. Doesn't do anything. There's nothing to do. Oh, there's a check, so what?
Yeah.
I probably just go here to get off the line of the bishop. Nothing left. And there's this. Yeah, that's it. You keep checking for a bit. Done with his checks and just have a passed pawn and an extra piece. Oh, Andy Freeze hanging to boot. That's pretty nice, huh?
Yeah, with check.
Yep. And then F4 falls, yeah, but we don't really care about that. We just, well, that insofar as we can support C1.
No, yeah.
But yeah, it's everything's winning. So that's why he resigned. Pretty amazing, huh?
Yeah.
Cold-blooded,
again,
like you said.
Was that Nikki?
Cold-blooded, like you said.
Very, yeah, that's a, I've heard that used before. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, usually it's if the king walks into the line of fire. Because you don't typically want to do that. But it's based on the concrete facts in front of you. But yeah, he didn't need to play b5. But the thing is, if he didn't play b5, it was shortening the file actually. Yeah, he opened up the A file, but by going here, he shortened the file of the B rook. You think about it. So now the B rook, it's just like when Lasker went G6. I don't know if I mentioned that was the Lasker game, but when Lasker went G6, and Lasker was an amazing defender, by the way. Some of the best are, yeah, Petrosian, Karpov, Lasker, Fischer. Well, that was the one I said I wanted to show you. So we have the main ones there. I'll probably load this up. And then the Fischer one, I just looked at this recently as well. Again, he just allows a dangerous looking attack, but he just sees deeper. I mean, it is based on one, hard calculation, but two, it's more conceptualization. I conceptualize that I can play b5. I'm not going to calculate like a computer and see every combination after b5 here. Or especially not if you're under a minute and you take on b4, like both of them took the b pawn, right? And then they ended up playing b3, a4 in the first game. You can't conceptualize everything, but I'm sorry, you can't calculate everything, but just conceptualize what's the setup going to be, right? So let's see, this would be, if I go under my studies, it's one of my favorite ones for Fischer endgame transitions, basically. So it's under, if I just type in Fischer, it should show up. So we got, yeah, like they're both really good. I'll send the link in the chat to both of them. Just remind me if I don't. So let's go. I'll just go to the critical point. Well, he creates this. It's like a French, right? Or it's a King's Indian version where it feels like a French. There's just no D5 in yet, and there's no D4 in. But there's that wedge pawn kind of, and it's hitting those weak points, right? But in the French, you would just have D5, D4 in. Overprotection, right? So F6 becomes very difficult, obviously, because it opened up the bishop against the queen. But it's very hard for black to play F6 when you overprotect the pawn. A lot of pressure there. The E file opens, diagonals open. Knight could come into E5 and so forth. Okay, so you try and trade off his bishops. So create the, those are really weak. Oh, by the way, if I were playing with black, it's very important. Just play D6 here. That's actually the main move. Yeah, if you go here, black is doing great. Maybe D5. If it were me, I'd play D6. I like this structure. It's a great way to play against it's effectively a closed Sicilian, like the King's Indian attack setup, but effectively against a Sicilian, it's a closed Sicilian. So yeah, I would just play B6 is just a bad move. Funny enough, it actually didn't score. It was only a few times. But yeah, I just played D6 here. But now Fischer got an E5. It's just clamping down on the dark squares. That's an attacking concept, right? Just get rid of this, and he would love to maybe end up getting this knight, kind of coming in to hit the dark squares, right? There he comes. So he's sacking this pawn temporarily. This is the nice line, though. If he takes back, he doesn't have anything, but he takes on F7. It's kind of crazy, a bunch of hanging pieces now. So yeah, this is nothing. I think this is just good for black, just up a pawn, right? Should be fine. Maybe knight comes and bothers him, just tuck your bishop back if you need to. Start running your pawns, black's doing great. But after this move, it's murky. So you've taken a piece, he's taken a piece. You take the pawn. So if he takes back, you take back. And now you get, so yeah, he's got your E pawn, you've got his F pawn, which looks good for white. You splintered his pawns, black's king is open. So he moves the queen up, mating ideas. But see, here you go, right? It's like, okay, you get rid of his bishop, which actually allows you to attack him on the dark squares. So he's trying to attack you on the light squares. You have opposite colored bishops. They're good for attacking. End game, they're draws. Middle game, they're good for attacking, right? So he hits you on G2, you're looking at G7 and F6 and so forth. So you have to judge that yours is going to be better than his. Well, this is where you have to, your defense is based on your accurate assessment. After this crazy stuff, of course, after you sack here, you have to be able to see this move and assess this position. Again, you're not going to calculate everything, but you do have to know, Fisher probably did, but you do need to know how dangerous this is. How dangerous it is. What do you guys think? What would you do in this position?
You
To the-
just move F3.
Okay, what happened? How dangerous is this after F3? So he finally gets his knight back. Well, you
What
have
was your-
a pawn structure, right? Piece counts equal, right?
What?
Piece counts equal then, right? We got our pawn back. We have superior pawn structure. Sure, black has a pawn advance to d4, but look at the weak e6 pawn. Look at the splintered pawns. White has 3 connected pawns on the king side. Black only has 2. That's important. The bishop's in there. Bishop's in as well. But after f3, we block everything and we want g4. So he's fearless. He's like, I'm just going to go g4 and trap your bishop. And the knight's a good defender. Opens up the queen to defend. Rook's counterattacking. There's no attack. So you have to assess that. So for example, appearance versus reality, because this does look kind of like, well, even if I see all this, if I saw it, even if I don't see it once I'm here, it looks scary. You have to anticipate that first. So superficially, this is dangerous looking, right? But you just have to know, okay, well, the only thing would be to look at bishop h1. That's actually the trickiest line. But I think I don't know, I'm not sure why you didn't try that. But after bishop h3, you have f3. What if you had gone, actually, let's see, what if you had gone bishop h1? He's
That
threatening.
probably would have been mate.
No, I mean, you have f3, you have f4, actually.
I mean, if the bishop goes there, and if he
I
doesn't
think you
go to
do
H3,
F3,
F3.
Fisher's not falling for a mate, though.
No,
Worst comes to worst, you have this.
no,
Then you're
Fisher-
losing material. Well, and here's the problem. No, we have 3 minor pieces. They have 2, but obviously our knight's not making that a lot. But they're threatening mate. So if you need to, you could play f3.
F3,
You
yeah,
could play f4 also. Is that?
yeah.
And then they take your knight. And then what? I think it just doesn't do anything for him. Maybe rook e5 and double rook. Kind of looks like the game in some cases. But the bishop might be better. I don't know. It's just not doing anything for him. But on h3, I'm not sure it's better. What else did he have? He could have gone, probably bishop d5 was an improvement then. So the point is that the attack is so weak that he shouldn't even go about it, right? So
Right.
people would probably avoid this because they're like, well, in this case, well, they're thinking, hey, I have the light squares. I have a bishop in there. Sure, white does too on h6. But even if he didn't, it turns out this is not that strong. So for example, sometimes you might go ahead and take the rook with your bishop. That would be how you might lose this bishop. Now, remember we talked about the importance of that bishop with fianchetto. But hey, there are times, like remember we talked about taking on c6, would it be the other side? No, what was it? C3. It'd be the bishop taking on c3, doubling the pawns. So you're giving it up in those cases. In this case, you're giving up that bishop. So in some cases, you might actually go take a8 in exchange, and then you play f3 and you repair your weakness, right? In this case, you play f3, you stick your pawns on light squares, try to trap the bishop, and you get control over light squares. So once you play g4, yeah, dark squares are weaker, but that doesn't matter. Black isn't really going to harvest anything in there. And yeah, now but it just so happens that in this case, you have the dark square control, and your dark square control is more relevant than his light square control. That battle of the opposite color bishops, you're both attacking. So it's all about whose bishop is better. And then he ends up going into the end game. And he has to trade because queen g3. So he trades. Well, there's the mate threat again. You just trade him off. He has to trade now because otherwise they both have to trade. Right? White needs to stop queen g3. Check. And now black needs to stop queen g3, winning the bishop. So he trade. And then white ends up winning with the knight and the rook. He trades this one, he gets this. But now white has an extra pawn and the bishop is terrible. And the king gets to carve his way in. So he ends up winning that game. But it all begins with this with complications in the middle game. So he sees deeper though. So you have to be fearless based on your skill, but you should believe in your skill, So a lot of this is it's mindset. it's the spirit. So Soltis, his first chapter is on spirit of defense. I really recommend Art of Defense in Chess. And one of them was taken, oh, we have the next one. It was taken from Art of Attack in Chess, but I looked at a sideline. Where is it? Art of Attack in Chess. I looked at a sideline where white was had an attack, or the other way around, but black actually had, there was a very good defense. Where is this? Is it here? That's from this one. I think the study was here. I'll go back to this. All right. So evacuation, shortening the file. Yeah, this is the last one. We didn't do this one yet. Yeah, so this is the example where there was a better defense. So it shows how it was black who ended up winning because white took on F6, which is dubious. I guess you could take
Bye,
it
Leah.
later.
Bye, Leah.
Was that not by Leah? So yeah, this is an example in Art of Attack in Chess. There's some, capture. There's a brilliant win for black. Now, actually, Vukovic recommends rook takes d3. I checked on the computer, and of course, nowadays in the 21st century, the computer finds something that they missed, right? So, but the concept of rook takes d3 is interesting because you remove this attacker, which is creating a mating net. Pretty vicious, right? There's a pin on the B pawn, which guards the knight. You want to go queen c5 and take, or rook's here and take. Pretty bad, right? But the computer actually comes up with another move, still dealing with the bishop. But the point is, you need to deal with the strongest attacker. Well, they're kind of both. But this bishop is creating the mating net. And again, cold-blooded moves. Cold-blooded moves, confidence in your position, and partially because you have to. Sometimes you have no other choice. You have to go into it. But then when you're in it, you just gotta stay cool, calm, and collected. Stay objective. Okay, so what do you think is the move to handle this dangerous bishop?
Maybe a knight to E1. Maybe.
There it is, Lynn. You got them on, yeah. Knight to E1. Just attack it.
Nice.
Now the line that it gives is rook here. So what? Well, the thing is, you're amassing this defense. Again, you see sometimes there is direct defense. I've seen some cool, I want to find it. There's some cool Magnus games like that too. Like I was talking about, you go H3, G4, and they sack and open it up. Where he has these cool kind of just, everything just kind of covers and there's nothing there. Magnus sees it instantly. But you are covering C2 now. You might end up blocking here, but by kicking this guy out, you go somewhere else. You have King B1. But so, for example, in certain lines, you might be able to take this now and have more resources. So he does let you take it. But then what's black going to do now to keep the attack going?
Bishop
takes knight.
Bishop takes B2.
Well, you want to use that. You want to use this, but as the pin to get C3.
Okay, but
So how are you going to, it's very tactical. How are you going to
Maybe
get
first he takes the rook and then he
Correct.
takes the knight.
You guys see that? You want to take the knight. So effectively you remove the defender
okay, take the rook.
to exploit the pin with check.
Okay, yeah.
Now this
Yeah.
looks terrible. It looks terrible, but amazingly white survives. So very, again, cold-blooded, but cold-blooded by necessity. Right.
Yeah.
'Cause otherwise you just lost. Well, I don't even know why white's castled queenside. The concept was, well, the chapter is to show you how you can exploit the queen side. A lot of, actually, the very common concept is a pawn here, and there's some sack, like a queen sack, and then the bishop comes in and finishes it or something like that. It's a cool morphic game like that where he sacks laterally, and then the bishop, I think it's the bishop follows up or something. Anyway, but yeah, you can see it's very feeble here. It's a feeble defense of the castled king. It's completely open. Castle queen side, your king's on the C file, the rook's open there, C pawn's missing. It's pretty bad. But he has this amazing defense. So you allow this capture, you allow rook to take C3.
Mhm.
Here. Then you have Lynn, then we have your move Lynn. So now if the knight, well, you just grab this guy finally. In the game, you took it prematurely and lost. What if you take here? Always ask yourself these questions. What would happen? Probably the queen just invades, yeah?
Hmm.
Might be similar to the game. Let's see. Yeah, actually it's very similar, I think. So the queen gets a tempo now, threatening mate. Well, not actually, no, the queen would have to go back. Well, this is white's up a piece though. It's complicated. White is up a piece. Look at this. But even though see, you have to be so, oh, by the way, you are guarding D3. But you have to be so confident in your position. Because look, there are 3 pieces forming your king, but they don't have anything right now. Just like when they with the Alekhine game. Alekhine was throwing all his pawns at Black's king, but he didn't have anything yet. So you can't be that afraid of it. When you watch the top players play, you see how they win those games or at least draw them by being fearless. So you have to be. That's part of chess, right? To handle these, again, spirit of defense. You're going to lose those games the moment you get too afraid. You want to be a little paranoid, right? Always be looking around saying, oh, they have this, but that doesn't mean to be afraid. Be vigilant, not afraid, right? So rook goes back. He evacuates again. See, we're seeing similar concepts. We're seeing counterattacks. We're seeing direct defense. We're seeing running away, evacuations. We're seeing sealing up the king, like that. So trading down, we're seeing trading for endgame save. Now this is complicated because Black does have a lot of pawns now. You're gonna have a bunch of pawns, but hey, white is up a piece still, and they are surviving the attack. So that's the point. You're not getting mated, as in the game, where white got crushed, and he uses that as an example. But you go king g3, and he's running out of checks now. All right, well, check. You can probably play out. There's no more checks after this. Well, yeah, watch out for this rook. Probably you can go pawn f4, maybe even start running and then playing for this and like coming back. But I think eventually, yeah, I think he's running out. There's no more checks right now. So queen moves somewhere, I don't even know where. And then you have like, can probably play, oh, there's rook there. Rook here. Maybe rook c1, how about that? Just trade down. But you have good chances to win now, the bishop. Might be drawish, but probably some chances to win with the extra boost. So the point is you survive this onslaught. Almost rook. You know, funny, I'm actually, I have the line. I was investigating this earlier to see what would happen. So I put in Vukovic's move. Turns out it doesn't work. But it's a complicated line. See, it says -2, but after rook takes d3. So Vukovic gives king b1, which is bad. No, but even here. No, you know what? No, Vukovic gives king b1, then he gives queen c5. So, you know, it's, again, this is the 1960s. Like, they didn't have computers. They're not going to find everything. I mean, it's sensible. King b1 sensible. But then there's queen d7, which should win. But even here, it's very complicated. Like, you know, Black has to play perfectly. White has some defense. And then Black comes in and then they have some type of, you know, attack here, threatening queen c2 and mate. And even here, what's going on? Well, white's king is so exposed, but it's not like it's over. You know, it's still a game. So this is messy. But after it turns out, if queen c5, as he suggests, king b1, queen c5, then, no, he gives this line, and he says that white's okay, because he's going to take f6. But this is very exposed, right? But then the computer finds, at the end of his line, says, no, don't go down a4, go bishop e3. And then you kill off the attack. Let's see what would happen. And then you take this. So it's like a version where you do end up collapsing here, but it works. I don't know. It's insane. It's a really, really complicated line. But yeah, and then like there's some liquidation. And what is the result? White has 2 pieces for a rook, but Black has an extra pawn or what? 2 extra pawns. That's crazy. And it's saying that white can hold that. So anyway, it's super complicated. You'd have to spend a day analyzing it all.
Yeah, there's just so much there.
Yeah, it can't be like, oh, the computer says this. Even when the computer says it, you can go deeper and it's not that clear, right?
Right.
But the point is that the Black does have some strong response to rook takes t3, but the line Vukovic gives, even then white's okay. Yeah, but knight e1, the computer finds, which the point is you have to deal with this, but then it's a little bit easier. Maybe the knight helps out a bit more. And there is still a direct threat on the bishop. So rather than sacking the exchange, you're just getting the bishop for the knight. Yeah, very messy stuff. But yeah, so this one, what is the concept after all this? Well, getting rid of the strong attacker and just kind of being fearless. Again, some of the themes are mixed here. evacuation. You know, you had this bishop d2 to cover your king, avoiding perpetual check if you want to try to win this. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff in there. And then we saw the Fisher game and the Trojan game. So I'll pull those in here as well. So you guys have any questions about those?
No, those are very good. I like it a lot.
Yeah, focus directly on the king. The only other thing would really be the fianchettoed position, but we talked about it. You'd have to see it directly. I mean, I can show you, for example, if we just do empty, I guess it would be, I could just give you a sense. I could probably find something interesting. If we just look at a dragon, probably we'll get, I'm sure we'll get an interesting position. So you have like the stuff that I mentioned with h4. So d4 takes knight takes. And then you guys can play from again. Oh, maybe we could find a dragon position that you guys can play from. How about that? So you play from both. I'll create an arena. You can play from both sides, the attacking side and the defending side, or the counter-attacking side. How about that? You guys want to try it?
Mm.
Well, I'll show you. Let's get a sense first. This is a main line. I played this a ton in high school. Yeah, usually bishop d7 are castles. Now, if they don't want to get hit by d5, they'll play bishop c4. And then standard, I kind of like there's certain things where you don't castle yet, but this is standard. You know, I'll just press the main line. And then rook c8, threatening knight takes d4 actually. So if you, just to show you, if they go for h4 now, then they're losing. Bishop takes, you take the bishop on c4. Queen takes, you have this nice move. And they can't, you unleash this and you can't defend both bishops.
Nice. Pretty.
Yeah. So bishop goes to b3. And then we have the main moves, knight e5, going for knight c4. But also you're looking over here. There might be some sacks sometimes, not right away, but sometimes you might have pressure here. So yeah, then they go, so the common line, you know, they might have some prophylaxis, but h4, h5 typical stuff. And then bishop g5, rook c5. But again, the h5 at least stops. At least it stops the attack. So now the interesting thing about rook c5 is you may actually be preparing some exchange sack. I'm wondering if we could find this where there's an exchange sack on g5 to kill off some of the attack. I think there's some interesting stuff after the g4 f4 line. Let's see. Okay, fine. So king b1. This is common. Wait. King b1 rook e8 prophylaxis, very common. You see the computer value says about even too. Okay, rook e8, let's say, and let's say aggressive g4 takes, and there's interesting f4 stuff. So now they're throwing these knights at you. Knight goes to c4, throwing these pawns at you. Queen usually goes to e2. I know there's a line of queen c8, there's even b5 crazy stuff. And then there's so much here. Let's say f5. And there's just a big attack. It's interesting that white's not committing to h4, h5, making it harder to do that. So white goes for f4, f5. Okay, let's see. Computer says it's even about with g takes f5. This ended up being a draw, actually. I think I've seen this line. So you're using your rook laterally. It's really crazy, but it just shows you that, again, you're seeing these lines where yeah, you can take a pawn in front of your king. You can sort of have a semi-exposed king. You can often get away with it. Aiming at c4, aiming. Sometimes you have sacks to take this too. Okay, black is super active. He's getting g4 too. E takes f6. Now this is an example. We still have our fianchettoed bishop. It's very messy though. Counterattack. Queen takes, threatening g1. Takes, threatening mate. King runs. There you go.
There he goes again.
See? Computer eval says white's better. Slightly. See, it said white's no. See, said 1.5. It's like, not that great actually.
He's like thinking about it.
Yeah. So here's what I would recommend. It could go many ways. This could go many ways.
Hey, Carolyn.
Bye, Lynn. Okay, we have 4. So there are 4 of us. Then we could do a small arena if you want. You guys want to try this out? So, for example,
I gotta go in about 10 minutes.
oh, you
Yeah, I
gotta go.
can't
Maybe we can get
stay
one game.
either.
Maybe we get a quick game. And let's see. Well, like right here, for example, this is ultra sharp, right? So, yeah, this is an interesting position. It's right here. You can choose to do f5 or whatever you want. But if you look at this from white's perspective, I mean, white certainly got some stuff brewing up. There are, wait, why can't I flip it? I pressed F. Yeah, it doesn't want to flip. All right. So yeah, it's interesting. This knight's very aggressive. You might have some pushes like this. There's obviously some pawn, actually sometimes I like this, I recommend to my students. Because it's a very common dragon position. And again, like Simon Williams said, if you're going to go for it, kind of go for the gusto if you're playing white. Rook h8 is very interesting though. Zara, I've given up the h5 idea for now, but I might just play e5, e6, or stuff like e5, f1. But that's where you can see this rook has nice counter chances. But I've seen there are lines where the rook sacks for the bishop, and we end up with the uncontested bishop. Although that kind of happened, right? Where did that happen here? And the bishop took the knight. Well, then it wants the bishop to take back, and queen takes with check. They didn't give into that. So Gulmira took with the e pawn, and then it's just really complicated. And they ended up drawing later. I don't think that's the whole game. But yeah, why don't we do it from a little bit deeper? How about from this position? How
I'm
about-
sorry, David, I can't stay.
Oh, you can't stay either? Okay, we
No.
might have a one-on-one then or something.
Okay.
But hopefully that was still helpful to see the concepts.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you as always for everything.
Oh, sure thing. And I know a couple of you guys wrote me an email in response to my last on the last one, so I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Take
All
care.
right, see you
David.
later.
Take care,
Okay, bye.
Richard and Todd.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
So yeah, b5. So do you guys want to try one from this position?
Well, I got about 5 minutes.
You only have to go strictly 5 minutes.
Well, maybe 10, maybe
If you
10.
have 10, we can do a 5-minute. What do you think, Richard? Do you want to get one in? You want to play Todd real quick?
Yeah, we could.
Okay.
How do I play him?
So here's what you do. I'm going to send you. Okay. Do you want to play F5 from this position?
Sure.
I mean, yeah, just do it from F5. So
Okay.
here's what you do. You take.
Am I white or black?
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do, but you take board editor. You go to board editor. You would take the FEN. You copy this.
Okay.
I'm going to send you this. So you take the FEN.
Okay.
I'll send in the chat real quick, and then I'll share a screen. I'll share a screen for the game. Once you guys said it. So you would take that, and then you would say create game. You would go to. I'll show you again up here. Do you know how to create a game from an FEN?
Create a
all you
game
do is you go
on lead
to-
chess.
Yeah, go to lead. Are you setting it up? You know how to set up on lead chess?
I don't.
All you do, you don't even have to. The cool thing is you don't even have to be signed in to do this. Do you have a sign in?
Yeah.
If you go in quickly, otherwise you can literally not even be signed in. You just go to tools,
Tools,
board editor.
board editor. Okay.
Yeah, and then when you're in here, so you have like my screen, that just comes about from pasting in the FEN.
Oh, starting
You have the same
position.
FEN, you paste there, and then you say continue from here. Yeah, just
Oh,
paste it
continue
there
from
and
here.
paste it.
Okay, let me
And
check.
say black, make sure it says black to play. It probably would do that automatically based on the FEN. Does it have black to play?
Is it set the board?
Don't worry about the board. Just go down to FEN and paste it in there. Maybe press enter. It'll
Oh,
pop.
okay, I see.
Yeah, it pops up, right?
Okay, yeah, pops up.
And then go to continue from here.
Continue
Play
from here.
Play with a friend. And what
Play
you
with
can do is
friend.
you can literally just choose the time, do casual, whatever. Choose the time control, choose which side you have or random. And then just
Okay,
copy-
real
you can
time.
actually copy and paste the link for him in the chat. And then he'll just click on it.
5-3.
Sure, is that good for you, Todd? 5-3? Or 3-2 or blitz game, like blitz, like 3-2.
About, yeah, 5-2 or 7-3 or something.
Yeah, do 5-2 if you know how much.
5-2,
Okay.
5-2. All right, so you do 5-2 and then just say both sides or whatever, unless you guys want to play a particular side. And then you'll
Okay.
just have the link and then copy and paste. See, I'll just show you what I would. I have a quarter plus 10 somehow. I would click on that just so it's in.
Okay.
Yeah, just so it's there. I have the exact same.
So I'll
I'd
I
copy
guess
and
I'll-
paste that to create the game, or I would challenge somebody specifically.
okay. So is this it?
Okay,
You
Dave.
click that?
Okay, you guys started it.
No, what should I do? Hit,
Go into the chat. You see the chat on your Zoom.
yeah.
Okay, click on your chat and then click on the link.
Yes, 5-1. So just sue.
Okay.
Did you get it there, Todd?
Okay, yep. Now join the game.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, click join and then you start. It's very easy.
Okay.
I
Okay,
like how
so
they do it.
whose turn?
I think it might be, okay, White's turn? Is it White's turn?
One.
Was it White's turn or Black's turn?
It should be Black's turn,
Uh,
because F5 was just played, I think. Is it Black's?
okay, let me try, I'm
It
sorry.
should say dot, dot, dot. On the right, it should say dot, dot, dot.
Okay,
And then it's
sorry,
Black's turn.
it's board
Uh,
editor.
Can you, wait, did you
Yeah, I
guys-
go redo.
oh, was it, wait, was F5 already played?
Yeah, F5's already played.
Then it should be Black's move. Yeah.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
Black, your move.
Okay. The clock didn't start though, right? Hold on.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta
Once
sign-
you move.
I gotta sign in, I guess.
Oh, well, you don't have to sign in. If you, oh, are you playing signed in or no?
I'm
I'm
signed
not
in, but
signed
he's
in.
anonymous.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Richard, what's your username?
Grammar Hero,
Sorry, what is it?
Grammar Hero, just grammar and then hero, HERO.
Nice.
1 2 1 2 1 2
Dude.
1 2
Oh,
1 2.
I actually clicked on someone else and they cheated. Okay.
Okay, Jimu.
There we go. All right, I'm screen sharing it now. Yeah.
Well, I hang a piece, but that's fine.
Let's see where we are. So you went up, oh, that's interesting. So Todd responded with E6. That's viable. Put me some water.
Oh, okay.
No, that's very interesting though. You're obviously still gonna have some initiative. So. Oh, they said you hung a piece?
Oh no, I thought I did the tactics just for position, but maybe not.
I think that's a good move, Todd. I kind of like E6 on his first move. I think that was perceptive. It's a
Yeah.
clever idea, actually. It lets you, the knight's pinned, but it lets your queen come out sometimes. Like who knows?
I don't know, I'm stuck now, right?
Well, actually, interestingly, sometimes E6 allows you to evacuate your king to E7. So let's see what happens. Oh, you gave him G6 though. Oh, was there no way to hold G6? It was 95 actually. Yeah, 95 would have been the way. But let's go with, it's still a game. It's not checkmate. No, it's not mate yet, so we'll play it from there.
I have no moves.
No, I don't have it
see.
yet. I don't have it yet.
No, it's not mate because your
No.
king can go from F8 to E7. I think so. It's not pleasant, but it's not mate.
My king could go where?
Well, you only have one. Yeah, you have to go to F8, right? Well, he goes to E8, you go to E7. Yeah, you would love to have the knight. See, the problem was E5, Todd. E6 was great. E5 took away your ability to go 95 or even the rook's lateral defense, right?
Actually, I lost an OTB game in which I need to retreat from this position to B7, and I missed it because I'm like, why the heck would you retreat? I appreciate your lesson. Just lose a lot of tempo, and that's the way I was thinking. But I see it now that a lot of masters are retreating. But for a beginner like me, retreating is kind of unnatural. It's just giving a lot of tempo.
Speaking of defense, yeah, if you need to, try not to retreat, of course. The drive should be to always go forward. Push your opponent backwards, of course. But hey, if you need to, you need to. You have to suck it up and retreat, right? Sometimes. Okay, that looks annoying. That looks annoying there. I think, yeah, I think it came down to pawn E5 because they attacked the knight, but the knight didn't have to move yet. Well, G6 can't, yeah, you had to go 95, I think, to hold G6 there. But now the knight keeps you out of E6.
I think that's game right there.
That's game, yeah. Rook up and then queen takes. Sorry, bishop back and queen takes.
Try trade with other side. try
You
the
can
other
play
side.
against- yeah, if you want, Richard, you can play against me from the other one.
Oh, okay.
Good game, guys. Yeah, Todd, I like the way you played it. I have it on the shared screen real quick. I think if you had simply gone, yeah, King G7 looks fine to me. You know what? Maybe, yeah, King F7 walks in. It's hard to play. But I think, no, here it is. 95 with tempo, Todd.
Yeah.
95 with tempo.
That's probably your best bet, though. You got to stick
Yeah.
at 95. That's your defensive resource. That's a very important square in the dragon. You can see the value of the rook on c5 also. Bishop is on f6 uncontested, as we talked about. That's a great defender. It kind of acts like a pawn if nothing else. But I would love to get the knight on e5, get the king maybe to e7.
I'll be right back.
Get the rook to start shuffling your pieces and run your king to d. Oh, you got to run, Todd, right? I know you're Russian, but great game.
Uh-huh.
You got to head out, Todd?
Yeah, I think he's probably heading out.
Okay,
Probably
see you,
head out.
Todd.
Yeah, thanks for the game.
Hey, nice job, though. I was just saying, did you see where I said 95? It was just wrong thing went to e5, knight, not pawn, okay?
Yeah.
No, right after queen takes g4. Pretty much you can do about it. In the game, they took with the g pawn. That's fine, too. But I like the way you played it. It's interesting.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, all you got to do is 95. All right, nice job, Tom. I'll see you next week. Whenever you can make
Thanks. See ya.
Yeah. All right, so Richard, you want to do a same position?
Sure.
You wanted to try the other side, you said, or?
Yeah, I'll try the other side.
Okay. It's fun though. It's a nice simulation kind of. It's like a flight simulation, right? Flight simulation where you have a bunch of missiles coming at you, right?
So board editor, the FEN there. And continue
Yeah, or
from
even
here.
if you go back, actually, if you go back in your browser, it'll probably still be there, but whatever.
Oh, I see.
Easy enough, either way.
And I play as black.
Yeah, we're the two guys with holding the babies, right? That's
Yeah.
like duking it out. Try not to be too distracted. Yeah, sometimes that'll happen at the end. I'll be playing blitz with somebody. And, it might be a little tougher for me than my opponent with the slightly preoccupied, right? Okay, so you sent me the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always casual anyway. It's it's always casual because it's from the position. It didn't go through though.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't see that. It's blocked. It says join the game. I was blocked. All
Okay.
right. Good luck. You want to chat or just play it first?
But this is just me being aggressive.
No, I'm saying, do you want to chat as we play or just play it?
Oh yeah, you could chat. I'm just playing
Oh.
E5 because I'm just being aggressive and
Well, it's similar to what Todd did.
yeah, Todd did E6.
He did E6. But no, I mean, later he played E5. In that case, it didn't work for him. But my attack isn't as advanced yet. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Well, I'm tempted to just try to take your B pawn and because I have the under. It's common since the knight is under mine.
Yeah,
I could just take that and play in the center more.
I see.
Concepts on the diagonal too. Let's see. The only drawback of you guys moving the E pawn is the knight pin, but I think, yeah, he dealt with it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to take on this. I'm just looking to, so main options are knight takes B5. The knight can't even retreat. So either the knight takes B5, bishop could take C4. I don't like that. Could go pawn H5. Don't like. I think I need to address. I addressed the knight. Obviously, it's knight takes or pawn takes E6. Some of them are just not necessary. Like, why would I take the knight on C4 or F6? It doesn't. I can take. So I think I'm going. I think I'm going with this line. Oh yeah. Well, the key line. I have to look at it. Bishop takes. Knight takes. Rook takes. Bishop takes C4. And I think I'm not getting mated yet. Because the bishop takes with tempo. It takes with tempo.
Okay, I see.
So, yeah, this is getting messy, but a lot of times
Yeah,
happens is the bishop's open on G7 and the knight sacks itself and like, or knight will take on B2 or something and expose. the
yeah.
Yeah, there's some crazy stuff on B2 sometimes, but your bishop's blocked on G7, so we'll see.
Takes, takes. Takes, takes. Takes, takes. Takes, takes. I have to, unless my evaluation is incorrect. I mean, I use a tempo.
Do you have anything else? Yeah, you probably,
Uh,
I don't think yeah, unless you move your knight. But you don't want to move your knight.
yeah,
But well, either way, the key is the bishop opens up. Now, do I take
Yeah.
queen? Well, I'm forking here, but it's not really a big deal because your rook goes back to B7.
mhm.
Yeah, you have that. Let's see. So the bishop takes, a queen takes. Kind of tempted to take with the queen, but because it puts more heat on F7. I could take, but the thing is, I could take G6 next. It's the key line. Key lines to try and take. So the queen obviously has its merit on as you got to G4. So it has merit taking G4 if it wants to later. But there's definitely value in keeping the bishop on B3, all else being equal, because you defensively, why do I want to open up the B file?
Mhm.
So I'm not sure. I'm kind of fluctuating. It's oscillating between the two. So given that
Yeah.
you go with the safe move, especially because I know that there's a lot of heat on F7 that you probably want to deal with.
Oh, okay.
If
Oh,
you-
yeah.
Well, I assume so because your rook's hanging anyway. But then I have this one. So I'm getting on F7.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Yeah, that was the key idea, I guess, of taking B5.
I see.
So I gotta figure out how do you.
One, two,
and
one,
now
two.
hey, here's your defensive task now. Now you have it. Now how do you deal with this?
Yeah, it's gonna be mate. What? B7.
I guess at least I'm trying to win your rook. So how do you
Yeah.
not lose your rook? Well, it's interesting is your bishop on G7. I mean, you got some resources with that. Just don't want to drop your
Yeah,
rook.
yeah,
So you're
correct.
losing. So how do you not drop
Correct.
your slash?
I'm thinking. I mean, I don't know if Queen E7 works.
Queen E7.
Or just-
I'm gonna take your no. Oh, you give it the exchange instead.
Yeah, I don't know if that will work.
Oh no, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try it, but
I didn't look at that move. Well, in that case, would it have made a difference? Now, I mean, I guess if I had taken with my bishop and you go back, I'm still only threatening to take and get the exchange anyway.
yeah, but that's still losing position.
Yeah, actually, the benefit of this line is that I can at least trade queens. So if I'm playing with an exchange up, I probably wouldn't mind
Yeah.
anyway.
Correct.
Oh, I think I just snatch everything. I trade everything, then I take no. I want to take D6 at the end, then your knight takes E4.
Yeah.
If I take F6 first, your rook takes F6 guarding D6.
So it looks like I down the exchange theoretically if
But
takes
you have
takes
chances.
takes
Yeah,
takes,
but you have, yeah. Well, that's if I take. I could just leave it there. Maybe I play H5. That looks dangerous. Because I don't think you could do anything. It's like better, the threat is greater than the execution thing, right?
yeah, correct.
There's nothing to. Well, if you play D5, I'd probably play rook takes D5 anyway, because the knight's pinned. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like H5 is pretty strong. Just keep going. Because then what was the idea? H5, H6. Your
Mhm.
bishop gets in some trouble. Rather than taking the exchange, I'm trying to trap your bishop.
Correct.
Let's
Correct.
just do it. Let's just do it and see what happens. You have rook c7. Okay, fine. Let's say you get there. Yeah, you can force me off with rook c7, then I probably have to go in for it. Oh, wait, no, you got to be careful there, actually. Yeah, check out rook c. Okay, look at rook c7 and see if it works.
I.
No, I didn't say do it, but
Oh, okay.
no, take,
I
you can
mean,
take back. No, because I'm going to take f7 now and then take c7. You see that?
okay, you're gonna take
That's
you're gonna
that's what
take
I want you.
f7.
That's what I want you to analyze.
Oh, okay.
You see, what I'm talking about. I take
So
f7.
so you take then I take then
Then I take c7. Well, that's what I want you to analyze first because I have that. See, I take c7.
okay.
Wait.
But if you capture you're going to capture
I just take, if nothing else, I just get the rook for free because your queen's,
yeah.
and then you have to play like d5 or something, but whatever happens, and I trade queens if I want. But yeah, I win the rook. And you have,
Could you go over that analysis again? Okay.
so I take f7 with my pawn.
Yeah.
You take with your queen. Assuming you do, I assume you do. Then I take your rook on c7.
Oh yeah, because it's pin. Okay, I see.
Right. So, well, my point was, okay, so do a take back if you want. My point was I want you to analyze that. You moved it to,
Okay.
so I'm like, hold on.
Okay, I
No,
see.
I said, look at rook c7. I said, go to rook c7.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
true.
That's what I meant. Okay, so why don't you go back and try a different move?
How do I go?
There's a take back button.
Okay, I mean, there's a
so-
way to give you more time, right?
I went back.
Oh yeah, I
So
see.
it brought me back. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so I want the main thing I'm trying to do is that, but I do have the pressure. That's why the threat is greater than the execution.
I
The
see.
pressure
I'm
remains on f7.
thinking maybe maybe f8, king f8 or king
Yeah,
h8.
you
Like
have to
I
leave here,
I like to
right.
remove the
What
pin.
was your last move you did? That was actually another move you had earlier as well as queen e7. I was thinking,
Yeah,
yeah, you may as well do it now. Well, then I have
Yeah.
h6. I still have h6 though.
yeah, you do. And then it's
I
kind
don't
of
even know what you do about it. I don't know what you do about it though. If you
yeah,
can't stop h6.
yeah, correct.
So you may as well. Okay,
Just do.
we're done it earlier. Yeah, I think that was your main improvement. You do it earlier so that you can then take the g pawn, and then then at least you get rid of one of my pawns. Probably that was the main. So let's say I assume I push, but I can take a check. And yeah, I just want to get, now the key is to get rid of that.
I might get
You have some counterattack.
right here. It might be good. I'm thinking about captures. I mean, in this instance, it might be good to trade a minor piece for 2 pawns. I don't know if that'll.
Oh, well.
No, that's not
But
going to
if I
work.
take
It's not
back,
going
if
to
you
work.
take, I take with check first, then I take f7.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, correct.
It's tough at that point. Once you get h5, h6, and g6 in, it's hard to hold them.
yeah, correct.
I don't know if you have any defense to that. Because the thing, and as you can see, all that white needs to do is just stay solid. Once
Yeah,
you're,
correct.
you just go for the free attack.
Correct.
So yeah, I think we'll have to find your improvement before that. Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
fine.
okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fine.
You're still okay. Giving the bishop, you're still fighting.
You may just push down, but
Well, if I take your knight, that's interesting to look at because
Correct.
you can't. It's because you can't take with the bishop. There's a mate. You have to take with queen.
yeah,
Then the queen could come down. No, then probably I do rook f1. So there's that part. But I think taking g7 is more direct. Take g7, queen takes. If king takes. Oh, king takes runs into bishop h6. Yeah, that's kind of more direct than trying to get the queen. It's more forceful.
Mhm. Oh, wow. Yeah, a lot of trouble.
Right, because if king takes, you got bishop h6. If queen takes, you still have
It's
bishop.
yeah.
Yeah, then you win the queen easy in under better circumstances.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. uh,
Yeah, so let's go back and analyze how would you,
okay.
I think you had the right idea. You take g6. Well, e5. Now, as with Todd, when you play e5, you lose the chance for knight e5, though. That's the opportunity cost. Let's take a look. I'll go to analysis board. Is there anything there?
Oh, it says
Well,
E5 is bad. It said
So
oh,
in the
okay.
game, the person played G takes F5, and then the computer was
Yeah,
saying,
they said that was
wait, is it
bad.
just losing? It's just losing? How is that a losing?
Yeah, it's supposedly E5 is just losing.
No, it's not. It's not. No, yeah, I knew it wasn't that. Yeah, because I remember I looked at earlier. It looked at first, it's like, oh, white's winning on the spot after F5. Okay, it wants to go G takes F5. That might be the only.
Yeah.
If A5, it says you're winning after. Let's see, take here, take back. Yeah, that's the idea, though. You can see this loosening of the diagonal. It's just kind of easy to handle that for
Yeah.
white. This is actually the trickiest line, though. I mean, who's going to find rook d5 here? You know, like, it's not easy. Okay, okay, let's see what it wants to do. Let's say the rook.
Also says A5.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's say the rook. Do you see the line that I'm looking at?
Yeah.
So I guess white's winning a piece, kind of. Yeah,
Let's
white's winning well, for 2 pieces. That's a rook for 2 pieces. That's really strong here, though. So basically you're supposed to play. No, the 6.5 is if you go e5. What about Todd's move? It says I think this is what you did. And then still this move is very strong, taking on b5.
Yeah.
So you have to be, it's very sharp when that's here. Okay. So f5 is a very dangerous line, but it says after g takes, that's like the line we looked at. Remember, this is what they did in that game. And
Yeah.
And then black was fine. So that's the line, that's the way to go. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
I just played very straightforward moves, you know. I just
It's just hard to see.
It wants to take on g6 right now. Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
Not really. Not the evaluation says okay, either way it's like +7. But wait, what if you go here? It's fine still, but it's just, it seems that it's let the bishop be the glue here. And then then you just take. Actually, it wants queen d7, which is kind of similar. So the question is, what if king f8 here? Just takes. But still, you're still, I feel like you're still in the game.
Yeah.
But then this ominous pawn. Yeah, that pawn. So then you have light square. So the question is, you know, as I mentioned, this bishop on g7, it either helps you or in this case, it gets in your way. So now why is that? I guess this you know, it's very interesting. That's why this is interesting, the f5 line. Because rather than going for the jugular with h4, h5, they block you first, but then you're like, I'm going to go for f4, f5 instead. And you could combine the attacks on the f and h files, because often the king will rock. So it's very interesting in terms of the defensive ideas, but how white. But if you're playing a dragon, you got to be from it. Do you play the dragon at all?
No, I usually play Tomanov.
With
Still in
e6.
Tomanov.
Yeah, that's actually I've never learned that, but it's
D5, E6. It's kind of light on dairy.
Yeah, you can get your d5 break easily in those lines.
Yeah, because I used to do Nardark, but it's too heavy on dairy. Nardark. Open and close Sicilian. Now it's take Tomanov.
I'd say either go with the dragon or the well, you could go with that if you have to learn it. Yeah. So either go with the, because there's so many options by your opponent too. So I would say either go with the dragon or the wait, which one? Yeah, I like that. The Taimanov, I've heard it called the Khan, someone of the Khan or something. Or you can go for the E5 stuff, the Boleslavsky hole, which will look kind of this, but a different version. But that's a little risky too. Like if you really
I think I've gotten, believe it or not, most of my upsets that I've earned were Tomanov.
yeah, no, Tamanov's great. It's pretty easy to play. It's like
Yeah.
Nimzo in terms of the pin on the knight. And
Yeah.
you often get that D5 break in, which is just equalize. Usually when you get it in, you're like at least equalizing.
Correct,
So,
correct.
Yeah, it's just a hard position to play. So really, funny enough, the only move is the one that we looked at in that game. We figured there'd be more options, but it just shows you how strong it is. But like in Todd's game,
Yeah.
yeah, actually, let me go back and see if it's still there.
Yeah, he played E6 is better, but you're only down 3 instead of 7.
Yeah, let's see here. This is your game with Todd. So
Yeah.
the computer, of course, said it was winning right away, but not as winning.
Yeah,
Three
it's
instead of
just
plus
+3.
But maybe, funny enough, you took the wrong pawn though. Now it's even. So the question. Oh, it's because he shouldn't have taken with the pawn. He could have taken with a piece and kept his pawn structure safer. Keeps his pawn.
it said to take the G pawn?
Yeah, because this forces. If you take with the G pawn, it pretty much forces them to split the pawns. If you take this
Okay.
pawn, so another important defensive concept. If you're defending, you should keep the pawns in front of your king together, ideally. But I mean, we have.
Yeah, correct.
But interestingly, it's kind of like a situation where you have double G pawns or whatever. You do literally, but you have double pawns. You push the front pawn. So this double pawn is just a weird version of it. But usually it'd be like this, right? And then you push the front G pawn. You keep the back one.
You know, I was thinking about I with bishop takes.
Mhm. This stuff here.
Yeah, I mean,
Much more tenable.
yeah, but
You're still in the game here for sure. What do you
yeah,
have?
correct. Okay, that makes sense. That's very interesting because
Well,
I
he's
was
already
thinking,
been retakes or
yeah, I was thinking about wanting the bishop here.
so you just
So
take it. I think you can still probably take b5.
yeah,
I wonder, but in that case, you might have counter sacks.
yeah, I
Ace is
see.
back. Like, let's say you take b5, you might have counter sack. So okay, it's like a desperado. You give me your
Yeah,
knight.
correct.
Oh no, then the queen defends. That's still this is what I'm talking about though. See,
Yeah,
if you
correct,
if you get
correct.
greedy for this knight, then you have this vicious, unleashing.
Yeah,
See, that's what
yeah.
I'm talking about. That's how vicious the dragon gets.
I see.
So that's kind of cool. So that's
Yeah.
actually that's why I've played this line. That's the sting of the b5 idea. It's got the
Mhm.
rook supporting it. It's hard to try to win that. If you don't take it later on, black has a winning idea to win.
Yeah.
Well, white's gonna have some crazy stuff over here. Black's gonna win the bishop, trying to undermine which would undermine the attack on the diagonal. But anyway, so yeah, so it's saying knight d5, but it's saying that black is completely fine. If you take. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So anyway,
Yeah.
after this, so basically he should have taken here. And
I
then
see.
you don't want to, well, what was the idea? Oh, you want to take g4. I think you shouldn't necessarily be in a rush to take, mostly because he had knight e5, I think. He could have done it here too. Although it still says you're winning.
Yeah, I think
I would
okay.
have gone here probably.
I see.
It slows you down.
I see.
It just slows you down. But,
Okay.
yeah, it's a common idea, of course. So here, but now, oh, he took the wrong way. That's the idea though. Since he played e6, he can do this. Look at all of black's resources, that's where this uncontested bishop is great. The queen might even stick herself on e5 here. Is she getting bothered on e5? Looks possible. Yeah, it says black's fine. Crazy.
Okay.
Look at the centralization of black's piece.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So black has resources, but I would not recommend the pawn there. Like we both made that, especially when he did it. Like once he did it here, it's getting mated. Yeah, because he needs 95. But yeah, he should take back there. So basically, you rush to take this. Yeah, keep the pressure, keep that tension. Don't rush, and then you still take. I mean, you could even double your rooks and do well here. But it's saying you can take this, undermine it. And again, we have this nice idea and tons of pressure. But yeah, he still had resources. But yeah. So here, what's his last defense? His last effort. He needs 90. Yeah, that's the last chance. Nice. He found the forced mate. And if bishop blocks, it's queen takes mate. Because the knight on e6. Yeah, so now I see his idea, but it's too slow. So this is the last chance, 95, queen h3. I don't know, it's difficult. Okay, what would I do if it were me? Well, this is the problem. You would like to play rook h8, but all else being equal, it's fine.
Mhm.
Well, actually, there's still h5. h5, g5 is actually a common idea too.
Yeah.
So there is that. So actually, you don't need to be on the h file unless you're trying to take this pawn, which would be nice. Problem is the e6 pawn's collapsing. Well, then the knight, that's why the knight's usually here. But I don't know. I mean, to the human eye, it looks like it's not over yet.
Yeah.
Oh, but now there's no more 95. Okay, fine, g5. Again, you can go wrong. Like, let's say this happens. You can
Yeah.
definitely go wrong here. Like one move might be okay for him.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to play like really perfectly. Point is it's messy enough that black can fight. Oh yeah, the queen's hanging. Okay. Yeah, black can certainly fight if they win the queen. But like they have queen rook b8 ideas and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, the computer will say, oh, +6, but make one wrong move like in your position earlier. You take on f6, suddenly it says he's even from +4, right? So yeah, that's crazy. Lots of interesting turns. When you do trainings like this, I mean, obviously training in a real game, but you focus on a specific position like this. You can play against the computer too, play it against like 1800 level or 2000 level, so it's not infallible, more like a human would play. Although to make some blunders, but to play at 1800, to make good moves and to make blunders, right? But yeah, I would practice something like this. Maybe try to hold against an 1800 here. You could just take the same position, go board editor, then go play from here, play with the computer. I would say, that's kind of fun. Yeah, play with the computer. Strength, I don't know exactly what they stand for. Okay, let's say you choose a time, strength of 4 or whatever. I don't know what they are. What 6 like is 5 or 5 is probably like 1800.
Oh,
Like, probably like 1800 expert, getting into master, and then 2500, 3200 or whatever. Anything above 6 is like almost impossible.
what's level 1?
Level 1, I don't know, probably 1000
Oh, okay.
or less. Like level 1,
Okay.
no, I don't know if it's as weak, like chesskid.com, for example,
Yeah.
or even chess.com. The lowest level will just like it will just let you do whatever you want. And it's like
Yeah.
you can like hang your queen a bunch of times and won't take it, right? You're just hanging.
Oh.
Just so it's more like so you get to know how the pieces move and how to
Okay.
maybe checkmate if you get lucky, or stalemate that by taking other pieces and something like that. But yeah. So I would put it, just try it at like level 4. I think that's doable. Soon enough, I think you get into like 20, 23, 25, 28, 32, like somewhere 5, 6, 7, 8 would be really hard. So I would maybe do 4, 3 or 4 to start. If you beat it on calibrate, if you beat it on 3, okay, try it on 4. Then eventually at least you can hold it against a strong level like 5 or 6. So yeah, good job, Richard. Great to see you.
Okay. Yeah, because. Okay. All right.
I'll put up. Oh wait, was that recording? Oh yeah, it is. It doesn't show it's recording. Okay, good. Because we had a lot of content in there. So okay, good. I want to make sure that I know Andrew.
Okay.
I'll put that up on YouTube.
Okay.
So you guys can review if you want. Cool. See you later, Richard. Have a good one.
All right. All right. All right. All right.
All right.